Hello, Jamie from InkyandScrappy, sharing with you today a new card featuring Lawn Fawn's Peekaboo Pop-Up die set and their new Fangtastic Friends stamp set. So I started by die cutting that main panel piece out of two pieces of black close to my heart cardstock. This is a black printed cardstock, so it's got a white core base. It holds Distress Oxide ink on top very well, and it takes forever for it to dry. So I started by doing my folds, and of course I didn't do my folds properly, which is fine. You just go back and redo your folds. So we learn by doing, right? And I learned by making mistakes because it's how I roll. So once I had my folds properly placed, my idea was to put a moon in there. I probably could have done a floating moon somehow in the back, but this is my first Peekaboo pop-up, and so I wasn't that adventurous with it. I mean, I already was going above and beyond what it was intended for, because I didn't want just a little back flap. I thought it'd be really cool if my moon was, you know, a circle in the front of my card. So it's more of a shadow box style card, but with that lever action. So if that makes sense. I just put a few tick marks in there through my circle. So by shifting my paper up and down a little bit, or my circle up and down a little bit, it makes it a little bit wider than I knew I was going to need, and I don't have to worry about erasing those tick marks. I'm coming in with Distress Oxide ink in Antique Linen to create my moon color. And so because my circle was so big, I think if I'd had a smaller circle, I probably could have done it the other way that I had originally intended. But I had this one in my backup plan because I kind of knew that it probably wasn't going to be, my movement was a lot bigger than I was thinking it was going to be. And so I knew it probably wasn't going to work. And I was going to use the moon mask, but it just wasn't showing on top of that ink, or because the ink wasn't all the way dry. So I just spritzed it with a little bit of water and let it dry naturally, and you know, it gives that beautiful oxide color variation that makes it very moon textured. For my front panel, I am coming in with Distress Oxide inks in Chipped Sapphire, Villainous Potion, and then some Black Soot, just to even out the front a little bit. And really because my black cardstock has a sheen to it, and so I wanted to get the sheen to match where it was already ink blended. And it gives that beautiful glow around the moon that I was aiming for. So I'm also going to make sure that I ink that arm that's going to come up. I didn't ink it enough. I did go back in and ink it a little bit more and added some splatters so it matches my moon. And then I'm going to come in with some super cheap metallic watercolors from, I think I picked these up at Joann's when they were on sale. It was the cheapest set I could find. I'm not lying. And so I just splattered the white, the silver, and or gray, and then the yellow. I saved most of the yellow for my moon, as you will see here, but I did add a little bit of it to my front panel. So I will set those off to dry, went and did some chores, and then I came back. No, actually, I fussy cut all of my images. I actually cut them out with the Brothers Cannon cut, and then I didn't like the thicker white border on that dark background, so I ended up fussy cutting closer to the line on all of them. You could skip that step. I just like the look with less white on the dark background. So I'm just trying to figure out placement. I know which one I want on the inside, and that little folded up snug as a rug bat fits perfectly in that fold. So he can hide, and then, you know, you find him when you open him up. And so I just made sure that I bent it bent that branch fairly good. Well, I had it glued there, so it's going to stay. And that will also be mostly hidden. And before I get too far, I'm going to put a sentiment on it. I actually wasn't planning on doing a sentiment on this one, but I felt that when it was closed and that branch with the two bats on it kind of needed something on that other corner to balance it out. It was kind of heavy on the one side, image-wise, when it was closed, and I wanted it to look a little bit more balanced. So I added that sentiment to that. It ends up being right in the middle when you open it all the way up, but it ends up being on that left side in the left corner when it is folded. So I just made sure that I powdered it very well and then did some Versamark ink and some Alabaster White Brutus Monroe embossing powder. And then I'm going to add my side panel, or my panels together here, using some double-sided score tape and, of course, some liquid glue. Because, as you will see here, I have some trust issues when it comes to removal or double-sided adhesive. So this did not want to stay in place. I had put double-sided adhesive on it, and it just was not. Every time that I would open it, it would kind of like give way. And it might have been, it shouldn't have been the paper because the paper didn't have any ink on it. So that's what I was thinking was my issue. But that was not my issue, obviously. And so I'm just adjusting my bat here. And then, of course, when I went to glue him, I couldn't remember exactly where he was on. My little lever. Yeah. I was going to say it's a Monday, but it's a Tuesday. Shoot. Anyways, so I play around with the placement of my bat, realizing that that little arm is not staying where I want it to stay. So a hint on the arm. So if you look at how you fold the one corner down, if you make it so that it looks like when you have it closed or open like this. So on mine, it's the circle, right? So I have that little, it's kind of like a point, and that point is pointing towards the circle. So I don't know if that helps you, but that's how I'm going to remember it, is you fold them and then the little, it kind of looks like an arrow shape on the other ones, goes towards the bigger flap on that front portion. I don't know. That's how I'm going to remember it. I'm sure I'll have to look it up once or twice in between. Yeah. So my little flap was not staying down or stuck like it was supposed to, which was really hindering my placement here. And so I did end up gluing it and fussing with it quite a bit. And then I did do some anti-static powder there just because I had gone in with the double-sided adhesive and I was afraid maybe there was something that was on it that was sticking, and so I thought it didn't hurt to add a little bit of powder to it, right? I did end up moving my bat down a little bit. And another hot tip Tuesday for you is to use a little stronger cardstock than I did. This one was 65-pound weight. It definitely needs at least an 80-pound weight. I did end up going back in with a small strip over the back of it. So I cut it at an angle and tucked it underneath right where that fold was, all the way down on that one lever to help give it a little bit more strength and stability, I guess, because it was folding on a funny spot there, and that was hindering the movement of my mechanism. And then because I did this one more of a shadow box than just the little peekaboo pop-up behind the hill or the clouds, I know my L shows and it probably wouldn't have had to show, but this one put my bat where I wanted it the furthest out. And so I did end up rounding that corner on that bottom piece, or on that L shape, so it didn't hit the bottom of my circle when it went to go back closed, if that makes sense. So I did end up ink blending on the back panel here for my writing. I just inked the one corner and then I added in that little spider hanging down, and of course my camera died. So I didn't get it all on footage, which is fine because it's just a little bit of ink blending. There it is, the back panel of the card for you that you missed out on. And then there's the closed version. So when you pull it out of the envelope, that's what it looks like. And then when you pull it, you see that bat flying across the moon. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and keep getting